Ladies and gentlemen, let's get real for a moment. We live in a world where men will spend hours researching cars, gadgets, or even the perfect workout routine. Yet, when it comes to the bedroom, far too many recycle the same tired positions on repeat. Safe, predictable, ordinary. But let me tell you this, ordinary is not what women are craving. Ordinary is not what keeps passion alive. Ordinary is not what makes her eyes close and her body beg for more. Today, I want to break down 5 sex positions women secretly fantasize about, beg for in whispers, but rarely experience because most men never dare to step outside their comfort zone. This isn't just about acrobatics. It's about intimacy, confidence, and the willingness to give pleasure as much as you crave it yourself. Number 1. The standing surprise. Against the wall, her legs wrapped around you. This is not just raw power, it's vulnerability, closeness, and intensity rolled into one. It makes her feel wanted, claimed, and cherished all at once. Number 2, the reverse queen. She's on top but turned around. It's the perfect blend of dominance and surrender. She controls the pace, you control the depth, and trust me, this angle, a game changer for both of you. Number 3, the spooning rhythm, intimate, sensual, emotional. It's not about speed, it's about connection. Whisper in her ear, touch her everywhere. This is slow burn passion at its finest. Number 4, the elevated edge. She sits at the edge of the bed, you stand. It gives her control of how deep you go while allowing you to explore every inch of her body with your hands and mouth. It's a position that demands attention and rewards you both with explosive results. And number 5, the flat out goddess. She lies flat, hips lifted slightly by a pillow. You go deep, slow, steady, intentional. This one is about intimacy, eye contact, and pure surrender. It's not wild, it's sacred. It's connection at its most primal. Now hear me. This is not just about trying something new. This is about prioritizing pleasure as a two-way street. It's about men daring to go beyond the predictable, women feeling empowered to voice what they crave, and couples stepping into a bedroom where vulnerability is as sexy as desire. So, I challenge you. No, I dare you. Stop recycling what's safe. Stop pretending you don't know better. Tonight, choose one. Just one. And bring it to life. Because pleasure is not a routine, it's a revolution. And it starts with the courage to try. The question is, will you stay ordinary, or will you finally give her what she's been begging for? When it comes to women's sexual pleasure, one of the most overlooked truths is that women crave variety far more than most men realize. The human brain is wired to respond to novelty, and this is especially true when it comes to desire. When a couple repeats the same positions over and over again, the body goes into autopilot, the mind drifts, and the excitement fades. Routine is the silent killer of passion. What ignites her desire isn't just the physical act of penetration, but the feeling of discovery, anticipation, and unpredictability. When you introduce variety, you remind her body and mind that every encounter is a new adventure, not a recycled script. Think about it this way. If she knows exactly what you're going to do before you even touch her, where is the thrill? Women thrive on mental stimulation as much as physical, and boredom is the fastest way to dull her sexual appetite. Variety doesn't mean inventing circus tricks in the bedroom. It means introducing small but powerful shifts. Changing the angle, the pace, or the rhythm is enough to shock the body into new sensations. Even moving from one side of the bed to another changes her perspective, and with that change comes a renewed sense of arousal. Variety also signals attentiveness. When you switch things up, you're telling her that you're paying attention to what excites her, that you're not just going through the motions for yourself. Many women fantasize about men who can keep them guessing, who don't fall into predictable patterns, who make intimacy feel alive. Each adjustment you make is like a message that says, I see you, I want you, and I'm invested in this experience. That attention to detail builds not only her arousal, but her trust in you as a lover. There is also a biological factor at play. Women's bodies are far more complex in their arousal responses than men's. A single position may stimulate her physically, but her pleasure peaks when multiple areas are engaged. Her clitoris, her G-spot, her cervix, her breasts, her neck. Different positions offer different combinations of stimulation, and variety ensures that no part of her sexual landscape is neglected. If you ignore this, you risk leaving her unfulfilled even if she never says it out loud. Women often don't vocalize their boredom, but they feel it deeply. Men who underestimate the power of novelty often confuse routine with reliability. Reliability is important in relationships, but in sex, it can quickly become stale if it means predictable repetition. A woman may love you deeply and remain committed, but passion isn't tied to loyalty alone. It's tied to energy, imagination, and the willingness to explore. When you break away from routine, you're not just changing positions, you're changing the way she sees you. You transform from a partner who delivers the expected into a lover who constantly awakens her senses. This is why variety is not optional. It is essential for long-term sexual chemistry. Without it, even the most compatible couples can lose their spark. What many men don't realize is that women often fantasize about novelty even when they don't ask for it directly. They want to be surprised, to be thrown off balance, to be taken somewhere unexpected. Novelty feeds not just her body but her imagination, and it's the imagination that often triggers her deepest and most powerful orgasms. By embracing variety, you create a dynamic cycle of pleasure where anticipation fuels desire and desire fuels satisfaction. Each new move, each unexpected shift keeps her guessing and keeps her engaged. When she doesn't know what's coming next, her body stays alert, her mind stays intrigued, and her desire doesn't just remain, it grows. This is the difference between average sex and unforgettable intimacy. Variety is the spark that keeps passion burning, the secret ingredient that turns routine encounters into experiences she craves again and again. Too many men grow up thinking that sex is defined almost entirely by penetration, but that belief overlooks one of the most fundamental truths about female pleasure. Women need full body engagement. Penetration may feel powerful for men, but for women, it is only a fraction of the experience. When a man relies only on thrusting, he reduces intimacy to a mechanical act and leaves behind countless avenues of arousal. A woman's body is layered with erogenous zones that crave attention, and each one adds fuel to her desire. Ignoring them is like playing only one note in a song that was meant to be a full symphony, and when you fail to engage her body fully, you miss the richness and depth of her sexual response. Touch is one of the most underrated forms of foreplay, and it doesn't stop once penetration begins. Women respond to subtle, lingering touches on their thighs, their waist, the curve of their back, even their hands. Gentle caresses during sex send signals of closeness, while firmer grips communicate passion and control. Both are necessary, and both awaken her body beyond the simple in and out rhythm. The more areas of her body you activate, the more her brain floods with arousal signals, creating an intensity that thrusting alone can never achieve. She wants to be consumed, to feel like every inch of her body matters, and that level of attention separates ordinary sex from unforgettable intimacy. Kissing is another element men tend to forget once things heat up, but women crave it throughout. A kiss isn't just about lips touching, it's about connection, intimacy, and passion being communicated in real time. Press your mouth against her neck, trail kisses across her collarbone, bite gently on her ear. These are the moments that deepen her arousal and make her body open more fully to the experience. When you neglect kissing, you strip away a layer of intimacy that women often need to feel fully desired. Keeping your lips engaged while your bodies move together makes sex a complete experience rather than just an act of release. Whispering or speaking softly in her ear can amplify sensations in ways men underestimate. Women respond strongly to auditory stimulation when it's paired with touch and penetration. Telling her how good she feels, how beautiful she looks, or what you want to do to her creates a mental overlay that magnifies the physical act. The brain is the largest sexual organ, and when you combine voice with movement, you light up pathways of arousal that turn an ordinary moment into something unforgettable. Silence may feel comfortable for men, but women thrive on a blend of words and touch that constantly reassures and excites them. Hands should never stay idle during sex. Use them to explore her curves, to squeeze her hips, to stroke her breasts, to trace her thighs. The act of touching adds layers of sensation, and every new touch keeps her attention anchored in the moment. For women, arousal often requires immersion, a feeling that the entire body is alive and being seen. If you focus only on penetration, her mind can drift, but when her body is fully engaged, her thoughts stay grounded in the pleasure she is receiving. A man who knows how to use his hands during intimacy is a man who leaves lasting impressions. The clitoris is a critical part of this conversation, and yet it is the most neglected. Relying solely on penetration misses the fact that most women cannot orgasm from thrusting alone. Incorporating clitoral stimulation, whether with your fingers, your tongue, or a toy during sex, bridges the gap between average satisfaction and explosive release. When you understand that her orgasm is built through multiple points of stimulation, you stop seeing penetration as the main event and start seeing it as part of a bigger, richer performance. This change in perspective is what turns sex into artistry instead of routine. When a man integrates all of these elements, touch, kissing, whispers, hand placement, and clitoral engagement, sex becomes a complete sensory experience. Penetration is still important, but it becomes just one layer of a multi-dimensional encounter. Women crave sex that makes them feel devoured, desired, and worshipped, and that requires attention to more than just one physical act. The more senses you activate, the deeper the arousal and the longer the passion lingers afterward. For her, the memory of that fullness is what keeps desire alive, and it's why she will always come back hungry for more. One of the most misunderstood dynamics in the bedroom is the balance between control and surrender, and yet it is one of the deepest sources of erotic power. Women often crave both, sometimes within the same encounter, sometimes within the same moment. The desire to be taken over, to be led with confidence, to feel her body claimed is primal and intoxicating. At the same time, the urge to flip the script, to take control, to ride, to command the pace is equally powerful. This duality is not a contradiction, it is the nature of female desire. A woman's sexual fulfillment often lies in this dance, where control and surrender move back and forth like a current, creating intensity that neither extreme can provide on its own. When a man only plays one role, always dominant, always in charge, he eventually dulls the experience. Predictability can suffocate passion because it leaves no room for surprise. Similarly, if a man is always passive, always waiting for her to lead, he robs her of the thrill of being swept away. The erotic charge lies in the contrast, in the shift between roles that keeps her guessing and keeps her body alive with anticipation. It is the surprise of being pushed onto the bed when she least expects it, or the delight of him lying back and giving her full rein after he's taken charge. That back and forth awakens her instincts and makes her crave more. Surrender is not weakness, it is trust. When she allows herself to be overpowered, when she lets go and gives him control, it is because she feels safe enough to release herself fully. The act of surrender allows her to step out of her head and into her body, where pleasure lives. For many women, this is incredibly liberating. It allows her to stop thinking, stop controlling, stop planning, and simply feel a confident partner who knows how to guide her body. To take charge without hesitation taps into a raw part of her sexuality that words cannot fully capture. It is not about domination for its own sake. It is about unlocking the freedom she feels when she lets go. Control, on the other hand, empowers her to explore her body's rhythms and desires in her own way. When she climbs on top, when she grinds, when she sets the pace, she taps into her own confidence and sexual power. This is not just about physical control, but about emotional expression. It allows her to show him what she wants, to reveal the movements that bring her the deepest pleasure. It is a form of vulnerability too, because in guiding him, she is exposing her desires openly. A partner who embraces this moment, who allows her to lead without insecurity, gives her a rare freedom to express her erotic self without judgment. The interplay of control and surrender creates a cycle of tension and release that intensifies the entire encounter. Every time the roles shift, the body reacts to the change, heightening arousal. This unpredictability excites her nervous system, keeps her alert, and drives her to stay engaged, moment after moment. It's why sex that includes role shifts often feels more alive, more electric, and more memorable than encounters that stay locked in one mode. A woman thrives when she can taste both sides of the spectrum, and the man who knows how to navigate that spectrum becomes unforgettable in her memory. Confidence is the key ingredient that makes both control and surrender work. Without confidence, dominance becomes clumsy and controlling, and surrender becomes passive and uninspired. Confidence communicates intention. When a man takes charge with certainty, she feels secure enough to surrender. When he relaxes and allows her to lead, she feels empowered rather than burdened. This clarity of energy makes the dance between roles seamless. Women can sense hesitation instantly, and hesitation weakens the dynamic. What they respond to is conviction, the unspoken message that he knows what he's doing and trusts her just as much as she trusts him. When couples learn to balance control and surrender, they open the door to limitless exploration. Some nights she may crave being pinned down, other nights she may want to command the rhythm, and sometimes both desires will unfold in a single session. The richness lies in the ability to adapt, to sense her energy, and to flow with it instead of resisting it. The most skilled lovers understand that the dance between control and surrender is not just physical, it is emotional, psychological, and deeply intimate. Each shift brings her closer to a kind of pleasure that goes beyond orgasm and into full-body, soul-shaking satisfaction. Angles are one of the most overlooked secrets to unlocking a woman's deepest pleasure, and yet they can completely transform her experience. Too many men believe that pleasure is about size, speed, or endurance, but in reality, the way your bodies align determines which parts of her are being stimulated. Women's anatomy is highly sensitive to shifts in depth, pressure, and angle, and even the smallest adjustment can turn a routine encounter into an explosive one. When you understand how to use positioning to your advantage, you stop relying on guesswork and start delivering the kinds of sensations that make her body respond instantly. Angles are not just mechanics, they are gateways to unlocking her hidden responses. The vagina is not a straight tunnel. It curves and expands with sensitive zones that respond differently depending on how you enter. The G-spot, for example, lies along the anterior wall, and stimulating it requires a specific upward angle. The cervix sits deeper, responding to slower intentional thrusts at the right penetration depth. Clitoral stimulation, too, can be indirectly influenced by positioning, as certain angles create friction that amplifies her external sensitivity. A man who learns these nuances becomes more than just a participant, he becomes a master of her body's map. It is not about doing more, it is about doing it smarter, with precision. Pillows under her hips, her legs draped over your shoulders, or her thighs angled wide can change everything. Each shift opens new depths and alters which internal structures are engaged. For many women, these subtle changes can mean the difference between mild satisfaction and overwhelming release. Experimenting with elevation and positioning also creates variety without needing to reinvent the entire act. The beauty of angles is that they multiply the sensations available without requiring acrobatics or excessive effort. It's the fine-tuning, the adjustments that often matter most. She doesn't just want you inside her, she wants you to know how to use the space you're in. Beyond physical stimulation, angles also influence emotional intimacy. Certain positions naturally bring your bodies closer together, aligning your faces for eye contact, synchronizing your breathing, or pressing your chest tightly. Others create a sense of distance and perspective, allowing her to see you fully, to watch your body move, to feel the intensity of being taken in a more primal way. These emotional layers matter because women's pleasure is not only physical but deeply connected to how they feel in the moment. The right angle is as much about the connection as it is about sensation, and the two together are what create unforgettable sex. Angles also play into rhythm, which is another essential piece of female pleasure. Some positions create shallow penetration that is perfect for building anticipation, while others allow for deeper, more forceful thrusts that release built-up tension. Alternating between them, flowing from one angle to another, keeps her body guessing and prevents overstimulation or boredom. This dynamic approach mirrors her own arousal patterns, which often rise and fall in waves rather than moving in a straight line. By matching angles with rhythm, you tap into the natural rhythm of her desire. It is also important to remember that every woman's body is unique. What works for one may not be the same for another, and angles allow you to personalize the experience, paying attention to her reactions, noticing the subtle shifts in her breath, her sounds, or the way her body tenses gives you the feedback you need to adjust. When you learn to read her body and adapt your movements accordingly, she feels truly seen and understood. This sensitivity is what sets apart a mechanical encounter from a deeply connected experience. Angles, when used with awareness, make you not just her partner but her interpreter. Experimenting with angles should be approached with curiosity rather than pressure. The bedroom becomes a laboratory of exploration where each new adjustment is an opportunity to discover what brings her the most pleasure. She may not even know herself until you guide her into positions that awaken sensations she's never felt before. That element of discovery excites her mind as much as her body, and it builds a sense of shared adventure. It tells her that you are invested in more than just release. You are invested in expanding what is possible for both of you. That mindset alone amplifies her trust and her arousal. Angles are not about showing off or trying to impress her with complicated moves. They are about understanding that female pleasure is multidimensional and that your ability to adapt, adjust, and align matters more than anything else. When you explore with intention, you give her experiences that reach deeper, last longer, and stay etched in her memory. The truth is, great sex is rarely about doing everything differently. It is about doing the ordinary things with extraordinary awareness. And in that awareness, angles become one of the most powerful tools a man can master in the art of satisfying a woman. Emotional intimacy is the invisible fuel that transforms physical pleasure into something unforgettable, and yet it is the aspect of sex most often overlooked. Many men think of intimacy as something separate from eroticism, when in reality the two are inseparable. A woman's arousal is not just sparked by what is happening to her body, but by what she feels in her heart and mind while it happens. When she senses closeness, connection, and genuine presence, her entire body relaxes and opens. That relaxation isn't weakness, it's permission, it's trust, it's her way of allowing herself to fully surrender to the moment. Without that foundation, no matter how skilled you are physically, her experience will always feel incomplete. Eye contact is one of the simplest yet most powerful forms of emotional intimacy in sex. Looking into her eyes while you move inside her communicates a depth of desire that words cannot capture. It tells her she's not just a body you're using, but a person you're cherishing. This simple act can heighten arousal, deepen trust, and make the orgasmic release far more powerful. Eye contact bridges the gap between the physical and the emotional, reminding her that she is not only being touched but being seen. Many women report that their most memorable sexual encounters are not just about what happened physically, but about the unspoken connection they felt through locked eyes. Breathing together is another way intimacy manifests in the bedroom. When your breath aligns with hers, when your exhales become her inhales, there's a rhythm that syncs your bodies beyond thrusting. This synchronization taps into a primal level of connection, one that makes her feel you're not just inside her body but intertwined with her energy. Breathing is an anchor to presence. It keeps you both grounded, prevents the mind from wandering, and builds a sense of unity. For her, that sense of unity amplifies every sensation because she feels not just touched but merged. This is what women mean when they talk about sex feeling spiritual or transcendent. Whispering during intimacy is another layer of emotional stimulation that carries immense power. Words like "you're beautiful," "I need you," or "you feel incredible" are not just sounds, they're affirmations that make her feel desired in the deepest way. These phrases bypass logic and sink directly into her emotional core, heightening her arousal. Women crave to feel wanted beyond the physical, and your words provide proof of that craving. They validate her, ignite her imagination, and lock her into the moment. Silence can sometimes make sex feel empty, but words, when spoken with authenticity, make it feel alive, intimate, and intensely personal. Physical gestures also serve as vessels of intimacy. Running your hands gently through her hair, holding her face, tracing circles on her skin, all of these small touches create emotional reassurance. They tell her she matters, not just as a partner in the act, but as a whole person. When women feel this depth of acknowledgement, their orgasms shift from being purely physical releases to becoming full-body emotional experiences. These gestures linger long after the encounter ends, building trust and desire for the next time. This is why women often associate great sex with closeness and not just technique. Emotional intimacy also allows women to access vulnerability, which is central to their erotic expression. To orgasm fully, a woman often needs to let go of control, to allow her body to move without inhibition. Vulnerability requires safety, and safety is built on emotional connection. When she feels emotionally held, when she knows you are fully present, she can let her body do what it craves without fear of judgment. This freedom to be uninhibited is what allows her to reach states of pleasure she cannot achieve otherwise. Without intimacy, she may still enjoy herself, but she won't reach her fullest potential. Trust is the foundation that supports this intimacy. Women need to know that their desires, noises, movements, and even their insecurities will be accepted. Every gesture, every kiss, every look of reassurance builds that trust. Over time, intimacy becomes a loop. More trust leads to deeper vulnerability. Deeper vulnerability leads to greater pleasure, and greater pleasure reinforces the trust. This loop is the reason why emotionally connected sex often feels endlessly satisfying, because it grows richer with time instead of diminishing. For women, this progression is everything, and it's why emotional intimacy is not optional but essential. When emotional intimacy is woven into the act of sex, the body and mind stop feeling like separate entities. Every thrust, every kiss, every sound becomes charged with meaning, and that meaning multiplies the intensity of the experience. Women often describe this type of intimacy as being made love to rather than just having sex. It is a difference of depth, of presence, of intention. She doesn't just remember the orgasm, she remembers the way she felt desired, the way she felt cherished, the way her body and soul were both touched. This emotional depth is what transforms sex from something temporary into something unforgettable. Confidence is the ultimate aphrodisiac because it shapes the entire sexual experience, and women can feel it in every touch, every movement, and every decision you make in the bedroom. When a man carries himself with confidence, he communicates safety, strength, and direction. This doesn't mean arrogance or selfishness, it means clarity, intention, and the ability to lead an encounter with certainty. Women don't just respond to what you do physically, they respond to the energy you bring. If your energy feels hesitant, unsure, or timid, it disrupts the flow of intimacy. But when your energy is steady and bold, she can relax into the moment, knowing she is in capable hands. Confidence shows up in the way you initiate intimacy. Instead of overthinking or waiting for the perfect moment, the confident man creates the moment. He doesn't ask permission in a nervous way. He leads with a touch, a kiss, or a look that makes her feel desired instantly. Women crave to be wanted, to feel chosen without hesitation, and confidence delivers that feeling. It's not about rushing, but about being decisive. Indecision kills arousal because it puts pressure on her to carry the moment, whereas confidence pulls her into a space where she can surrender to desire. Even in trying new positions or experimenting with techniques, confidence is the difference between success and awkwardness. A man who moves with hesitation makes her second guess whether he knows what he's doing, but a man who tries something new with certainty makes her intrigued and open to the experience. Confidence creates a safety net. It tells her that even if the move is unfamiliar, he's in control of the situation. Women don't need perfection, they need presence and decisiveness. Confidence gives her permission to let go of her own doubts and immerse herself fully in the pleasure unfolding. Confidence also translates through body language, the firmness of your grip, the way you hold her hips, the steadiness of your movements. All of these signal how sure you are of yourself. When you hesitate, she feels instability. When you touch her like you know exactly how she should be touched, she melts into it. Women read physical cues far more than men realize, and those cues tell her whether she should relax and let go or whether she needs to hold back. Confidence in body language is silent communication, and it speaks louder than words. Another layer of confidence is vocal expression. A man who can moan, groan, or whisper with conviction makes her feel desired in a raw, unfiltered way. Holding back noises because of self-consciousness creates distance, but letting yourself express pleasure openly makes the encounter more authentic. Confidence in vocalizing desire invites her to do the same, which deepens the intensity. When she hears your pleasure, she feels validated, knowing she is affecting you powerfully. That feedback loop builds arousal for both partners and turns the moment into something alive with energy. Confidence is also about handling vulnerability. Women are deeply attuned to whether a man can stay present when she lets herself go, when she moans loudly, squirms, or asks for something specific. A man who gets uncomfortable or pulls back in those moments destroys the connection. But a man who meets her vulnerability with steady confidence, encouraging her and feeding her energy, becomes unforgettable. Confidence is not just about what you project, it's about how you hold space for her full expression without flinching or faltering. That steadiness gives her freedom to explore her deepest desires. Importantly, confidence is rooted in self-awareness and authenticity. Pretending to be confident or overcompensating with bravado quickly collapses under pressure. True confidence comes from knowing your strengths, being comfortable with your body, and understanding that pleasure is not a performance but a connection. Women can spot the difference between forced confidence and genuine ease. When you are authentic, when you accept yourself fully, your presence becomes magnetic. That authenticity allows her to trust you completely because she knows you're not hiding behind a facade, you're real, and she can feel it. Confidence transforms ordinary sex into unforgettable intimacy because it eliminates uncertainty, hesitation, and insecurity. It replaces them with energy, decisiveness, and passion. Women crave partners who know how to lead without overpowering, who can surrender without collapsing, who can explore without fear. When you bring confidence into the bedroom, every touch carries weight, every kiss has purpose, and every movement tells her that she is desired. That assurance doesn't just excite her, it liberates her. And in that liberation, she reaches levels of pleasure that hesitation could never touch.